All right, ladies, gents, and non-binaries, welcome to another episode of the Comental Podcast. I almost said the title of the last podcast that we
Oh
did.
my
That
god.
was
Oh, you mean
what a
okay, I know what you're
yeah. Um, I caught myself though, so that was good. Uh, yeah, welcome. I am still a little under the weather. I'm not like outright sick, but mucus has been very annoying,
I think
unfortunately. So, yeah, I'm kind of still dealing with that. So I still don't sound the best, but I hope I sound a bit better at least compared to last episode. So, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm
uh-huh.
uh I'm here. Uh I been having issues with my eyeball for a week.
Oh,
It's just like constantly keeps leaking, but it's not like bad leaking. It's not like a sty or pink eye. It's literally I was a dumb dick and I slept with makeup on my face without washing it off before I went to bed. And then I'm now suffering from the consequences of my actions.
oh no.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Well, you don't look worse for wear at least, so there's that. I look like a caveman, so...
You look like you just came out of fucking hibernation, dude. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean like you can tell that you've been under the weather.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's okay. But you're
But
still showing up and you're still doing the podcast.
yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
This is true. It helps that I actually enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
If I didn't enjoy it, I would not be doing it, obviously.
I feel that.
Gosh, I'm still drinking my coffee. I've been playing I've been playing Terraria all morning.
What's that?
It's a game. It's been
Yeah,
around
no
for
shit.
a uh it's been around for a hot minute. I don't know. Maybe someone that's listening also knows that game, but it's pretty fun. It's like a I hate I hate comparing it to Minecraft, but it's like Minecraft in the way that there's crafting and resource gathering, but it leans a lot more into like the combat aspect, and it's also a 2D.
Ooh.
It's a 2D platformer similar to other Metroidvania games. So there's like equipment you can find and treasure and loot, and you can craft better stuff, armor, all that. It's fun. And so I haven't like played it in a hot minute, so I was playing that this morning.
Hmm. Aw.
Uh yeah, so that's why I'm still drinking my coffee, because I've noticed that if I hyperfixate on something, I will just straight up not like eat or drink much of anything, really.
Same.
So I will forget to eat too.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I ate cereal before I did anything this morning, so that was good. I'm not hungry.
I think honestly that's why in the morning one of my first thoughts or one part of my like routine is like, and this has been a neurodivergent thing for such a long time, but like I will not like coffee is one of those like ritualistic things that when people are like, "Oh, do you have rituals or routines that you don't like to like deter from?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's one for sure because if I break from it, like I honestly feel like I have to fit it somewhere in the day and it's just so much easier to have it in the morning." Oh, excuse me. And it gives you that like dopamine like or serotonin I guess feedback because it's like, oh, this is something I want to. A lot of people with ADHD and autism, but more importantly ADHD, when we wake up our brains are so slow to create dopamine uh, in a way that our brain needs more or requires more to be functional or to feel motivated. So I feel like getting coffee in the morning is like one of those things that like helps me be prepared for the day mentally.
Same here, man.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't get coffee first thing, like, I just drag, and it just kind of messes things up for me personally. So I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm also caffeine addicted, so I
Same.
kind of need that, like, caffeine, unfortunately. So
Because no one's gonna like, you know, when people say like, you won't like me if I don't have my coffee. I won't like myself if I don't have my coffee.
yeah, for real, man. It's not about other people, it's about us.
Yeah. We don't care how you feel about how we are. And yes, that is on God, not trying to be selfish. That is literally just like it is mandatory to feed ourselves just a little bit because we will forget. We will forget.
We will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you definitely won't like us because either A will be a problem emotionally or will be a problem physically.
I get hangry if I
You
don't
told
eat.
me this, yeah.
Yes.
Damn.
It's rough, man. Like, I find myself getting just irrationally angry at the
Mm.
smallest things if I'm hungry.
I feel like I get more like tired and whiny when I'm not fed. I become a baby.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
All
we
right.
are just big babies anyways.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
yeah. So, on today's episode, we kind of didn't really think of a topic very far ahead of
Yeah.
time.
He literally, I told him, I was like, hey, I'm going to go and see if I can conjure up some ideas. And then that didn't happen.
Yeah, that happened. So,
And a week went by. So, yeah.
So we're just going to talk about therapy stuff.
Hell
What
yeah.
we've been pursuing in therapy recently.
Hell yeah.
And specifically in Dez's case, she will share what she's been doing in EMDR therapy.
Hell yeah.
I guess I could start with my side of things first.
Yachts.
I would say that recently I've been discussing with my therapist and my psychiatrist my seasonal affective depression.
Mm-hmm.
And what sort of ways I could combat that and try and at least mitigate the symptoms, because like I mentioned previously, I am on sertraline for my depression and social anxiety disorder, and it wasn't until this year where I noticed that during the winter months I get like a downturn in emotions and just mood in general. And yeah, the hallmarks of seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, which is a very fitting acronym.
I know.
And the lights that they make for it are called SAD lights, which is perfect because the acronym and stuff. So,
Yeah.
which I still keep forgetting to buy. But anyway, that's a problem for future me, I guess. And so that's kind of been the focus recently. And, well, not only just that, but also just the day-to-days of life, and, you know, certain personal details I will not share.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of been the primary focus for me right now, as far as therapy and psychiatry has been concerned. So yeah.
What's the when dealing with SAD, like what is your, because you say like you experience this, you know, every year, and so you're well accustomed to how you function within it and how you process and experience it, but what is something right now that you are at least working towards to experience differently within it, especially with therapy involved?
I would say that I've been making a conscious effort to make sure that my environment is at least a little bit cleaner and more organized.
Okay.
And which, don't get me wrong, has still kind of been hit or miss some days. But making the conscious effort does help, at least. So I think that's been the primary thing I've been doing. And also just trying to be more active with like projects or certain ideas that I have for said projects. Because the one thing that I just have been feeling like every day is to just sit in my room and do much of nothing.
Yeah, I feel that.
But that could also prolong my symptoms and stuff or make it worse. So I try not to just do nothing. I try to put effort towards something so that I can feel like I'm, being a bit productive, making good use of my time. And yeah, that's kind of really it, really, at the moment.
I feel like it's the opposite of mine right now. Like I've been more, I've been trying to tackle and do more things, but it's for two reasons. Like one, I'm avoiding the prior commitments I have made, but two, it's been more of, I've been trying to make a lot more time for things that I want to dive into instead of things I'm obligated or I expect or people I feel like other people expect me to do. So that's been like where I've been productive but not productive in the way that I feel like I should be. So there's like feelings of shame and yeah, I guess shame is a big word for that. So that's why I said I feel like I'm in the opposite in a way. But I also like I get the feeling of just wanting to sit and like just not I don't want to use the word rot away, but like low minimal. Yeah.
Yeah, very understandable.
Mm.
What are some things that you have done to try and combat that sort of feeling?
Sitting with the emotion, sitting with whatever feeling I feel of like, I cried the day that I did. I spent a whole day where I should have gone to school and, um, you know, show up for things that I know I need to finish and be done with because I also understand that there are potential and there are going to be consequences for my decisions. And that weight in itself in the back of my mind is like, you can't relax with that. And as much as I want to relax, I want to like relieve myself and, enjoy life. It's really hard right now to feel like I can because of it. Um, so I'm not really resting, it feels like. But and that's a big paradox that or a lot of inner conflicts that a lot of people with ADHD tend to have with executive functioning and dysfunctioning and obligations and yeah, time frames. But one day after I literally sat for 5 hours writing about psychology stuff. And when I should have been at school, but um, and you would think that someone would want to go to school and do hair and color and stuff like that instead of sitting down writing psychology facts. But yeah, it was a comfort for mine when I was younger. So I kind of spent 5 hours doing that. Didn't realize that I was in a freeze response, and because when I finally stopped and I took a break and I sat down, um, I felt all those feelings of shame, anxiety, pressure, um, feeling unresponsible and feeling ashamed of that, and just feeling like a shitty person and uh, feelings just a lot of like and I came to realize through feeling my emotions though was that as a kid, like, I never could comfortably play by myself or be by myself or safely explore my imagination externally with what I did with my time, because I was always on edge and always guarded and always waiting for the next, like, um, next situation to kill that fun or kill that freedom. So I just find myself being ashamed for even focusing on myself. And that was very hard to kind of see and accept, because I saw the little version of me very sad and not angry, but I did feel anger for her, because I was like, you shouldn't have not had to experience that. But um it's just hard to like process it, because like I want to give you what you want, but I'm feeling really bad for it. uh, so yeah, I've had a lot of crying revelations of my childhood and relationships, and that's been that has been taking a lot of my energy for other things. So
That's very understandable.
I wonder why it's hard for me to fully like I can understand it from a clinical standpoint, but I think like the inner truth of me, or like my inner beliefs, is like I don't deserve to be understood. I deserve to be held at a high expectation, and if I fail, then I fail, and I should be punished for it. That's how my brain takes it, and I know where that stems from, but it's still there.
That's fair.
I started crying because like someone from work gave me some cookies, and it was really sweet that they did that. And I just started like later on when I finally sat there, I was like crying, and I was like, this person cares about me.
Oh,
And Luke was like, well, yeah, she does. And I'm like, ah. Yeah. When you start to realize that people really do love and care about you and want you to feel good and succeed, and you don't think that they're just faking it, it's hard to it's a hard having love from people is a hard pill to swallow. Okay. I feel like a wounded dog that's ready to bark at people, because
hmm.
yeah.
Well, if it's any consolation, I do think that you are deserving of other people's love, even if you sometimes don't feel like you do,
Mm.
because ultimately we're all human.
Yeah, some of us are shittier humans than the others, but we're all human.
Yeah.
We've had our conversations about um one, not feeling worthy, but then also at the same time feeling worthy of like respect and stuff like that. It's like a inner conflict, and like we wouldn't be getting angry at situations and at people if we didn't feel like we truly didn't deserve that. You know what I mean? Like I'm angry at my parents in some way, and I'm angry at like exes of mine because of some of the ways that they treated me, and I think those feelings are valid and fair. And back then I felt ashamed for even being angry, or being like trying to fawn just so that I can be safe and be accepted and received and validated. But now I've gotten to a point, I'm starting to develop into this point where I'm like, you know, I'm just going to say what I want, and about myself and about my life and about my experiences. And I'm not asking for opinion. I'm just asking for, I'm just allowing myself to have that space to hold my truth and hold what my story is, you know? I don't mind giving context, but you're not going to try to rewrite the story, you know? And I think that that anger comes from years of being like gaslit and being vilified. And I know you can understand feelings of that, and feeling less than and seen as um a problem instead of actually being heard and seen and valued and cared for.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is my angry era. We got sad boy era and angry girl era.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lovely, lovely combination.
Yeah. Go figure. I feel like I had a sad girl era for the longest time, and it scared some people because they thought someone died in my life, and I was like, yeah, something was dying, all right. And you've gotten angry. You've had your angry boy era, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
All part of the journey, I guess.
Yeah. And that's like whenever you've been angry, even like when you were at work, I never try to sit there and judge you or like shame you or like have you feel a certain way. I always wanted you to feel validated and seen and recognized, because anger is such a beautiful and sacred emotion that people who have been traumatized and felt less than deserve to feel and stand up for themselves. You know, that was a big thing when you worked here, was very much like people misdescribing you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing did make me angry a lot at first. Mm-hmm. But I grew to realize that that sort of thing ultimately is just sometimes something you cannot change about other people. And so best thing to do in that situation is just let it roll off your back.
I immediately got the vine, walk away. I was like, that's exactly what needs to happen. And I love that. I love that you came to that place. But I told you this many times in the past, like, my concern for you was always, are you going to choose to stand up for yourself and articulate it, or just sit in silence and be frustrated and festering? Because I feel like we're both similar like that. If we both fester and sit with the anger, like it feels like a pressure cooker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've definitely been guilty of that for sure in the past, so I would like to think I've gotten better about that. At least.
But you're also not in a place, I feel like, that you're constantly being triggered and reminded of those things too.
This is true. So, admittedly, I am in far less situations nowadays where that is being put to the test. So...
Yeah. No one's testing me!
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a thing, I guess.
And I'm happy for that for you. Excuse me, damn. I want you to have that peace, you know. Work is one of those things where it's really hard to walk away from, because you see it as like an obligation, a commitment, and something that the world, society tells you, hey, you got to be here to make money because your livelihood depends on it. And so it's really hard to justify walking away. And remember how I used to always tell you, I said, you know, if we all really loved ourselves, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And you really sit there like, oh, God. I love myself. No, you don't. You're here. Unless you really love this fucking job.
Definitely not a job I would willingly be at.
Yeah. Yeah. And my therapist, that was something that him and I did recently talk about, was wanting to be somewhere, like wanting to have the outcome that you want. The goal is like, it's like, you know, like the means to an end. You're in the means and you're not at the end yet, but you want to be at the end, but you're fucking tired of the means, you know? And, you know, he was like, well, you know, just because you're upset or you're not enjoying something or you're having an off day somewhere doesn't mean that you're not meant to be there. It doesn't mean that you don't fit there. Sometimes you have to acknowledge that not every day is going to be, easy. And I get what he meant by that, because that's how I've been feeling about school. This has nothing to do with work. It was more about school. But I now look back, like your experience from your old job and whatnot, and I'm like, I could put myself in your shoes and see how frustrating that would be. How do you feel motivated to come in every day or show up when your whole being, your whole body, your whole energy, your whole sense of self is telling you this does not align with me and I am not happy here?
It was hard, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am genuinely surprised that I lasted there as long as I did, to be honest with you.
You're resilient.
I must be.
Yeah.
I must be, yeah.
And I want to make this known, like, resilience isn't necessarily a quality that we should necessarily pride ourselves on, because it's also a form of self-harm, I feel like, if you're constantly having to go through things that are really, really detrimental to your mental health.
It's definitely the kind of thing that, to build up that kind of resilience, generally, you have to be going through some shit. So
Yeah.
it's not exactly a pain-free experience, and not something I recommend willingly going through. I did it because it was either that or I continue to spiral.
Yeah.
And I refuse to spiral. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
What would spiraling be for you? Like, because when I think of spiraling, I think it's like the predecessor before like a crash out.
I guess I have a few different ways that I've spiraled in the past. One of the main things I do when I start spiraling mentally is that, well, for starters, my attendance starts to falter, which generally causes me to get fired, which causes me to spiral even more. And then I hit rock bottom and I've had this rock bottom a couple of times before. Thankfully this hasn't happened like anytime recently, but where I just don't make an effort to find a new job or do much productivity. I just lay in my bed or sit in my room and just game to just, I guess, distract myself from where my life currently is. And it's been at least 5 years since I have been at that point, or the last time I've been at that point of my life. So that is the sort of depressive spiral that I used to experience. I've done a pretty good job of not letting that happen for the past like 5 or 6 years.
What would let me ask you this, like, so what did you do to help yourself not to go through that spiral?
Honestly, a lot of it was keeping in mind how much self-loathing I had during that period of time, and just the promise to myself that I wouldn't let myself get back to that place if I can help it. And that sort of what's the word?
Self-action, self-accountability?
Yes, that's that accountability that I held myself to was really the main thing. Was really the main thing that I held on to. And not gonna lie, with seasonal affective depression especially, it has been a struggle at times, for sure.
Yeah.
And with the workplace, with my old job becoming more and more toxic over time, it sort of made things even more difficult to
Yeah.
maintain. But ultimately, that's the one thing I'm still probably really proud of myself for, is that I kept that promise to myself that I would never let that happen again.
Mm.
And I guess that's the other thing, is that that sort of pride of maintaining that also kept me going and kept me from succumbing to that depression. Not saying that it's the end all be all, that is like that's the secret weapon of defeating depression.
Right. Everyone's
Um,
going to be different. Everyone has different tactics, I guess.
yes, exactly. But for me, it did help, at least. And it was still a struggle, but I still pushed myself enough to at least not lose my job. And that opened the door for me to seek proper treatment at,
Mm.
you know, years down the line. But yeah.
Okay. So I like that answer. Not that you asked, but here's my opinion. I like that answer. My thing is, especially in the lens of what I've been understanding with EMDR, is if you were back in that space, how would you sit with the uncomfortable, the discomfort now? How would you actually feel the true belief that you were feeling at the time? And I'm glad that you acknowledged like this sort of inner self, like hatred, or at least um resentment that you were having or struggling with at the time, and realizing that the only way that you were going to overpower it was by taking that accountability and moving forward, because that takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength, and an inner strength at that. And I want to applaud you for that, because a lot of people let themselves completely destroy them, and that can lead to addiction cycles and suicide and things of that nature. So
I appreciate it. What would I do differently?
mm.
I think I would show myself more grace. Because back then,
I did tell you that a lot too. It was like, you need to show yourself some more grace.
yeah, back then especially, I was not very kind to myself.
You were not. That's okay.
Yeah. Uh, Especially 6 years ago. Oh boy.
I didn't know you 6 years ago, but I can only imagine there had to be a start somewhere.
There's a reason they called it rock bottom.
Oh, did you become a bottom? No, sorry.
Oh my god, no.
Was life fucking you so hard that you became a
My
bottom?
depression was fucking me, so
Yeah.
I guess in that sort of context, I was a bottom back then. Uh,
No lube, just pure friction, baby.
mm-hmm. That's how they do it. That's how
Yeah.
life gets you. No
Gets you
lube,
when
no
you bent over.
protection.
I'm trying to get clean life. Let me fuck you. I mean, that is like really the true epitome of sober living. Anyways, go ahead. Being okay with being railed in the ass.
Oh god.
I've been sober for a year. I like butt stuff. No, I'm joking. He's like, I'm stumped.
Is that really the anal pipeline?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Okay, so you were talking about 6 years ago.
Yeah. I wasn't very kind to myself, and I think that's really the biggest difference I would make is that I would definitely show myself more compassion, like in the face of like either personal shortcomings or what has been happening a lot recently, which is just life throwing shit at you for some reason and seemingly just never having a break from it.
Mm,
So I've been trying to like give myself space and time to recuperate when I can, and trying to like get a balance going. And like self-compassion itself looks differently for everyone because
yeah.
everyone has different needs. So that's sort of been my main thing I've been trying to do recently as far as
Mm,
that's concerned. And I think that would be, similar to how I would respond to being stuck in a spiral if that
mm.
happens again in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's okay to have dips, and it's okay to have influxes, and um being lower than what we would want to be, like lower than our baseline or threshold, it can feel uncomfortable and difficult, and it exasperates so much other shit on top of that. But acknowledging that how we approach the experience and how we choose to have our perspective towards the external and our internal self is really what can help define the experience, but two, the story itself, and getting to whatever end that looks like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and keeping that kind of bigger perspective while challenging when, in a suffering, emotional state. um it's it's a good strength and good skill to have. um I think, yeah, it's usually referred to as resilience, but also perseverance too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my spirals weren't necessarily like sitting with the depression, but more so escaping and masking the depression. As we've talked about my, addictive behaviors and patterns back then. And it's so crazy. I really want you to like dive into the IFS systems, the internal family systems, because I've been learning more about it. And a lot of my thought processes are like the inner critic and the manager, but also the firefighter. And my firefighter was the reason as to why I would run from my problems by escaping, by uh, drinking and smoking and all that stuff. But I also feel like even if it's not necessarily seen as negative, like the psychology and wanting to study and do those things, um, I'm still using that as running away from other responsibilities or obligations I have. And that's something I need to challenge, the discomfort in which I'm trying to hide from or run from. But when I was like sitting and feeling my emotions, was sitting for like 5 hours and not really doing the things I was supposed to, I had the thought out of nowhere, like just pop in where it's like, oh, I want to be drunk. And I haven't really had those thoughts for like a pretty good time, for the whole year. Like I've been really, really good, been able to sit around people while they're drinking and not feel obligated. Like, I mean, the temptation's there, but it's not like nagging. But I guess it's because when I start to feel uncomfortable and miserable or just like at unease, it gets to that soothing aspect of I want to escape. And I realize how it popped up. It kind of pops up very sudden, like boom. And knowing that now, I'm like, okay, I see it goes from the critique, the managing, and then it goes into the firefighter of wanting to self-soothe and self-regulate, but not in a healthy way. And all I'm doing is shaming myself for actually wanting to focus on things that make me happy and make me feel good about my life. It's like that tug of war of responsibilities and joys, like things that you're passionate about, and deciding which one you want to spend more time on. I struggle with balance, and I think that's partly why I have all these like family systems that kind of why did that thought come in? My brain said oh, what is it, what do they call it? It was a meme, like my smoking circle, you know what I'm talking about, like what I would pass
Oh,
around.
puff puff pass.
Yeah, but like it was like, this is my circle, or like the they had the bad version of it, and I was like, that's my internal family system right there. I'd be smoking, I'd be miserable going around like that whole shit. Nope. I have to start moving everything because Luke's about to come in finally.
Oh, okay. Well, we can go ahead and end things here. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this wonderful episode. Join us next time as we talk about something else, probably. Also having to do with mental health, more than likely. We will actually try to figure out the topic ahead of time, at least somewhat ahead of time. So, yeah. Bye.